I want to thank you all for being here. We've lost too many people, so I think the more we're aware and the more that we can talk about it, the better our career we get. We invited Mr. Steve Filsen to come speak to us today. He has a personal experience as well. And I'll let him tell you more about himself when it's time. But first, we're going to have Pastor lead us from the prayer.
Let's pray. Lord God, let us learn about this scourge upon our nation, our world, and all the lives that have been affected by it. And let us get the information out to warn other people that there is great danger in our land this day. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, good evening. How's everybody doing today? Good. First of all, my name is Steve Filsen. A little bit of history about myself. I'm a retired police officer from the city of San Bernardino, that wonderful little community just down the hill here. I was there for 31 years. I retired in, when was it? Heck, November of 2009. So I've been out of the mix for 11, 12 years so far. It just seems like yesterday. I loved my career. It was a lot of fun. And wouldn't do anything differently. My nightmare began last year on January 22nd, when at about 10 after 12, I got a phone call from my wife, who was beside herself, obviously. She was screaming, didn't know what to do, didn't know what to tell me, but I knew what was happening. And what had happened is that beautiful little girl, that woman on the left, my 29-year-old daughter, Jessica, was found by Shereen at her house, dead, next to her boyfriend on their couch. They had been gone for a while. There was nothing that could be done. And we moved forward with the Veterans Police Department, and we went from there. We discovered pretty quickly that her death was, they said, a fentanyl overdose. And I'll talk about that here in a few moments, because there's no such thing as a fentanyl overdose. What they are is fentanyl poisonings, because people typically don't voluntarily ingest fentanyl unless it's prescribed to you. There is a legitimate medical use for fentanyl, if you didn't know that. It's a very strong pain reliever that's prescribed to people that are cancer victims and things such as that in recovery. But as far as a street drug, there's no such thing as an overdose. If you died as a result of fentanyl, you were poisoned. And there's no other excuse to it. I'm here because of one person who's special in my life, and that's Cheryl Quasney. I've worked with Cheryl since I retired, and I undertook my second career at the Public Safety Academy. It's a charter school down here in San Bernardino. She brought to my attention a young man who died a couple of weeks ago, Dante. And my thoughts go out to Virginia and her family, and his sister and everything. And I'm sorry to welcome you into this unfortunate group of people, of bereaved parents, that you're now part of. But there are thousands of us out there, and we'll help you through this unfortunate adventure that you're about to involve yourself with. But anyway, back to Jessica. She was Jessica Nicholas, and I'm not ashamed of them. I could care less of what happened to them. They were partying the night before in celebration of Nicholas's 31st birthday. That was just coming up 2 days later. And they ordered up some cocaine. The cocaine was delivered to them, and we're assuming that that's what they took. And the cocaine, they call it laced. Nothing is laced. Some dealer intentionally inserted fentanyl into the mixture. And however they adjusted it, and they died. 2 other people died the same night as a result of the same distributor. The dealer that gave the stuff to Nicholas and Jessica gave it to 2 other people, and they died. So we have one distributor in the city of San Bernardino and the city of Redlands who is responsible for 4 deaths within a 12-hour period. It's despicable. Police are investigating it. They know who the dealer is. I don't. I wish I did. But I'm letting, the justice system will deal with it, and we'll get to that point. Does anybody know what fentanyl is, other than what I just told you? Is that a hand up back there?
Yeah, I know very much about it.
What can you tell me about fentanyl?
Fentanyl, there's 2 types of fentanyl. One is pharmaceutical, and it is known to have an 80 to 100% strength times heroin or opioid substances. The other one is the illicitly made one, the street drug, and that is 10,000 times stronger than the pharmaceutical. And the numbers and the jolts of increases are unacceptable. And something has to be done, and we need to resort to something that's not widely focused on.
These are new.
Go ahead, that's maybe a little bit about it.
On point, pretty much. The fentanyl is a synthetic opioid manufactured by people in the point of illicit fentanyl that's distributed on the street. It first came into our country, we know of, back around 2014. It was being imported directly into the United States by Chinese cartels. They were distributing fentanyl in its purest form. Our government got on top of it, and they started to do some enforcement, which resulted in the Chinese having to alter their methods, and they've been hooked up with the Mexican cartels. And so instead of them directly distributing pure fentanyl into the country, they started distributing the precursors, which means the chemicals needed to produce the fentanyl itself, to the Mexican cartels. They now have the laboratories in Mexico that are manufacturing and being distributed through our country. We see what's happening at the southwest border. You can understand that the southwest border is the main distribution point for fentanyl into our country. This year, I think it was just over 5,000 pounds of fentanyl have been seized by the Drug Enforcement Administration, Customs, Department of Homeland Security, whatever. But that's virtually only about 2% of the fentanyl that is crossing our border and getting into our country. Fentanyl, like she said, fentanyl is 50 times stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than morphine. I'll show you a graphic up here in a few moments once I get into the slides. 2 milligrams of fentanyl, 2 milligrams, which is about the size of a grain of salt, is a fatal dose. That fatal dose can get into your system by all sorts of ways. It got into my daughter's system, obviously through her ingestion of illicit street drug. She had 30 nanograms per milliliter of fentanyl in her system, which I don't know what the breakdown is from nanograms to milligrams, but it was a fatal dose. It got her, and it got her quick. No, again, Jessica's there. That little that little troll. That's Alara. That's the blessing that came out of a tragedy. And my wife and I now have her. We'll raise her. I always tell them that I will share the love of our daughter, of her mother, to her the rest of her life. And that Jessica obviously loved her, but made a bad decision. I'll be 80 years old when she graduates from high school. And so my life is pretty much determined for the next, till whenever. She's my blessing, and she's what I wake up every morning, and all I want to do is look at her. Fentanyl. We're going to go over who does it affect, what is fentanyl, which we've already answered, why is it so dangerous, and what is happening. Who's fentanyl affect? Alexander Neville, 14 years old. A good friend of mine, son, Amy Neville. You'll hear more about Alexander later on. in a video presentation that we'll come up with. He took one pill that he had ordered off of Snapchat that was supposed to have been OxyContin. And again, Amy will explain what's going on, and you'll understand what these counterfeit pills are doing. Daniel Puerta Johnson, 16 years old. Handsome kid, huh?
Yeah.
Boy, what a model he would have been. Great kid. His father, Jaime Puerta, one of my best friends that I met through this tragedy, and we're now involved together with the organizations to get things done. Daniel ordered up OxyContin, what he thought was to be OxyContin, took 1/2 of a pill, 1/2 of the OxyContin that was delivered to him. His father found him out the following morning. He was transported to LA Children's Hospital. About, I believe it was 3 to 4 days later, he was removed from life support, and he died. How do you do those tragedies? It's unbelievable. Did Daniel voluntarily ingest fentanyl? No, of course not. What did he do? He ordered up to self-medicate himself for anxiety or for pain or for whatever the heck he was doing. He wanted an OxyContin. Can you die taking 1/2 of an OxyContin? Of course not. That's why I talk about Daniel Puerta didn't die of a drug overdose or an accidental drug overdose, which they term them. You'll hear that every time you hear it on the news. Accidental drug overdose. He was poisoned. He was murdered. There's no question about it. Scotty Hemstreet, another Orange County person, 14 years old. What's up with this? These are kids. They're just out of middle school, starting high school, a freshman, and they're dead. Took what he thought was a Xanax. I know how popular Xanax is amongst the kids and the street crowd and the party crowd and all that other type of stuff. And I'm not here to tell you, just say no and all this other type of stuff. I'm telling you, you better say no when it comes to pills on the street or pills that you get from anywhere except a pharmacist or your doctor, because you can count on the fact that that pill that you got off the street is going to look like an Oxy, it's going to look like a Xanax, it's going to look like a Percocet, it's going to look like an Adderall, but it's not. It's nothing but a base filler. The pill is pressed to mimic the legitimate pharmaceutical pill, and it's mixed with fentanyl. They mix it by just putting it into a blender, then running it through a pill press. Keep this in mind. DEA has said their analysis of seized pills has indicated that 25 to 33% of the pills seized have a fatal dose of fentanyl in them. Take 3 pills, put them out on the table. Give one to yourself, one to a friend, and one to somebody else. Which one of them is fatal? Which one of them is going to kill you? You don't know. And again, not every pill out there is fatal, but 1/3 of them are. I'd rather put a bullet in a goddamn revolver. I have a better chance playing Russian roulette than I do playing with this stuff. And this stuff will kill you. Again, they didn't know it was fentanyl. They didn't order fentanyl. They were self-medicating. They were wanting to party to get high for whatever friggin' reason with this stuff. And they were poisoned. What is fentanyl? As it says, fentanyl is a powerful synthetic opioid analgesic that is similar to morphine but is 50 to 100 times more potent. It's a Schedule II prescription drug. Schedule II means it has a medical purpose, which we talked about before. It is legitimately prescribed by medical doctors to people that are in extreme pain and need the help. Most of it's done with a transdermal patch. People have it on their arm, and that's the only legitimate use. But the legitimate use comes from a physician. It's typically used to treat patients with severe pain or to manage pain after surgery. It's also sometimes used to treat patients with chronic pain who are physically tolerant to other opioids. Another friend of mine, you know her, I'll tell you later on, she just finished surgery and they wanted to give her fentanyl. And when they told her that, she says, not in this life. You give me something else. I don't want fentanyl. I don't care if it's prescribed or it's legitimate or not. I don't want anything to do with it. She knew Jessica. Reactions to fentanyl. Pharmaceutical fentanyl comes in many forms and is closed. Well, it's dosed by micrograms, which I told you about. A microgram is 1 millionth of a gram. If you guys are rocket scientists and figure that out, I can't. Most drugs are dosed by milligrams, which is 1,000th of a gram. 40 micrograms is enough to feel euphoria, loss of inhibition, dizziness, drowsiness, relaxation, difficulty concentrating, constricted pupils, which means your pupils get small, slow breathing, nausea, vomiting, constipation, loss of appetite, sweating, and overdose. You know, how does a person die from fentanyl poisoning? You know how they die?
Breathing?
Bam. I guess the only way you say it, they suffocate. You know, so I've got this vision of my daughter, and she didn't feel it. I know she didn't feel it. I'm told that. But I know my daughter suffocated. And, you know, that's hard for me to sit back and digest in my mind what my daughter maybe had gone through. Because I know she didn't want to die. Fentanyl side effects. And these are things that if you ever run across somebody and they may be having a reaction to something or showing some symptoms or whatever, if any of this stuff, or you know, any more of these are there, you might want to think drug overdose, fentanyl overdose, anything, call paramedics. Nausea, vomiting, tiredness, dizziness, trouble sleeping, constipation, increased sweating, feeling cold, headache, diarrhea, loss of appetite. All sorts of stuff. The bottom line is, if you think somebody's in distress, you pick up the dark phone, you call 911. There's a law in the state of California, for those of you that may, and hopefully nobody here will do that, but if anybody is around somebody that ingests something, there's a law that if you call for help from the police or the paramedics, nothing can happen to you because you're trying to be a good Samaritan and get them help. So if you're ever worried about what the police are going to do or what anybody's ever going to say, don't do it. Just seek help for that person that you may be witnessing in distress. Why is it so dangerous? One pill can kill. That's our little mantra. One pill can kill, and if it has that fatal dose in it, it will kill. It talks about avoiding illicit drugs. For God's sakes, that's back to the just say no thing. And I know every one of you here around here, you watch that stuff, you think it's corny. Well, it may be corny to you guys, but I'm telling you, the wrong decision, and you take one of these things and it's counterfeit fentanyl, you're going to die. I'm sorry, you're dead. I don't want to see any of you dead. I didn't want to see my daughter dead, but she is. As it says, fentanyl can be found in any pill you buy on the street or through social media. Is anybody who does Snapchat? Cop out, raise your hand. Who does Snapchat? Here you go. Raise your hand, I know.
Go ahead.
Pretty much every youth.
Everybody,
Oh, no.
cowards. Snapchat is one of the major sources of people, and I guarantee you, if I was able to talk to somebody privately and they want to be honest with me, I guarantee each and every one of these kids has seen somebody on Snapchat that's trying to peddle dope to them. May not, not essentially you looking for it, but I'm sure you've seen somewhere on Snapchat, pound whatever, and somebody trying to peddle drugs. It happens. It happens every day. We're battling with Snapchat. I think they could go to hell as far as I'm concerned, because they know what's going on and they're not controlling it. I think they should be shut down. They should be shut down until they can figure out what they can do to stop this type of distribution of illicit drugs on the internet. Because the kids, 93% of kids 13 to 24 are on Snapchat. You tell me. Why is fentanyl so dangerous? As I talked about earlier, large production facilities in China, India, and Mexico are the ones that are producing it. They send it over here. It's pressed into pills. It's put into other powdered, narcotics that are sold on the street. Also being introduced to cannabis now. I don't know, and that is, my source for that is the Drug Enforcement Administration. DEA has said they find it in cannabis, which I'm assuming, well, the edibles, I don't know. I think heat might do something as far as destroying it in powder form or something like that, but it doesn't prevent it from being introduced into edibles when it's being made, so who knows? 2 milligrams is enough to kill. It's high potency, less is needed to get a high, and it's cheap to make. It's a lot cheaper, and the addictive nature of fentanyl is what these cartels and the drug dealers are looking for. Do they want to kill you? Probably not intentionally, but do they care if you die? No. Your collateral damage in this drug distribution war that's going on. Higher availability than legitimate Oxycontin, Percocet, heroin, Xanax, cocaine, MDMA, and everything else. The whole situation there is, if there's a pill out there, they have a press that they can put fentanyl into, and they are doing it. Again, somebody ever offers you a pill, or if you have a pill that you didn't obtain from a doctor or a pharmacy, don't take the darn thing. It's a counterfeit, and it has fentanyl in it. They're counterfeiting hard to get drugs. What happened? The pharmaceuticals and prescribed opiates from the doctors, oxys and all that other stuff that you get for pain, Norcos and blah, blah, blah. They just can't hand it out like candy like they used to. That's what led to this overall opiate addiction program we have throughout the country. So it's easier to get this counterfeit stuff, but people aren't expecting it to be a counterfeit or that they're going to die. Again, it arrives in the U.S. as counterfeit pills or pure for later pressing and mixing. All illicit pills are fentanyl. I can't say that enough. If you don't get it from a doctor or a pharmacy, it's a counterfeit and it contains fentanyl and you can die. This chart you can't see very well, but what we were trying to show here is on the left is the blue line. It starts in 1979 and it continues all the way up until 2019. Well, that blue line from 1979 up to about 2014 was generally linear in nature. And this line represents illicit drug overdoses, opiate drug overdoses, and things like that, since 79. Well, in 2014, we see that blue line didn't continue in its linear form upward, but it spiked, bam, and started going up. Last year, does anybody know how many people in the United States died last year as a result of fentanyl or opioid deaths, of which those opioid deaths or illicit drug deaths were primarily fentanyl?
81,000?
82,000. And I think that number is low. The number is low because of the reporting methodology. It's not completely accurate, and I think it's substantially higher. And the experts we've talked to believe it's substantially higher. 2014 it spiked, and you see that darn orange line go from that linear point, bam, and they traced that to fentanyl. And that's about the time that they started getting fentanyl introduced to our country from China. And, where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm sorry. The Chinese were responsible for it, and the Mexican cartels are now even more so responsible and participating with the Chinese in both the distribution and money laundering. Fentanyl problems is really different. We talk about opioids, Oxycontin, Percocet, heroin, and things like that. Typically, it's associated with addiction. One thing that, back to my being a cop for 31 years, I stuck with that stigma of somebody. How many overdose deaths did I see in 31 years? I worked homicide for 11 years. I saw a lot of drug overdose deaths. So moving forward, and when Jessica died, I had no idea what fentanyl was either. My knowledge of fentanyl was from back in 2015 when Prince died, from a fentanyl overdose.
And Michael Jackson.
And he took it on a plane, they landed, they couldn't revive him, he's dead. We have other celebrities that have died since then. Tyler Skaggs, the Angel pitcher, a couple of years ago. He was given fentanyl, right? traced it back to somebody within the Angels organization that was providing it with him because he had an addiction. Tyler Skaggs, talented pitcher, dead. And that's the problem. We used to associate opioids with addiction only. I don't know what addiction is anymore. I have no idea what addiction is. There's no such thing in my mind as a drug addict. We have an addiction problem in this world, particularly in the United States, and we need to come up with a method for treatment. There's suffering souls out there that need effective treatment. And hopefully we're moving towards that arena. But when we talk about fentanyl, it has little to do with addiction. Again, was Dante a drug addict? No. He was trying to either self-medicate, party, or whatever. And he got a pill. He took it. It wasn't his intention to die because he was poisoned. Jessica, she wanted to get high for whatever crazy reason she was doing, partying. She used the coke. She died. What can I do about it? Nothing. Fentanyl is used by people that are addicted to opiates. And we even have people that are opiate addiction problems and substance use disorders that actually order up fentanyl nowadays. But they know what they're getting. And they dose it right for however they do it. But the casual user, the first time users, the bystanders at a party where somebody has pills and they hand them out and somebody takes them, or people self-medicating, they don't know what fentanyl is. They're trying to get a pill or they're trying to do something to help with a problem or just to get a little high for whatever reason. Again, if it doesn't come from a pharmacist or your doctor, don't take the pill. It's going to kill you. This is a video I want you to watch. It's a public service announcement that came out of the Orange County Sheriff's Department. This is Alexander. You saw Alexander earlier. This is his story as told by his mother, Amy. She's the sweetest lady and like my little sister now. She's part of the group. There's 4 of us primarily in Southern California that got together after this. Myself, Jaime Puerta, Amy Neville, and Matt Capilouto. And we all live in Southern California, and we've got this little coalition, and we're on a crime spree to take care of this problem, or at least get education and awareness out there. Listen to Alex's story.
Fentanyl poisoning is real, and it's destroying every community. It's destroying all kinds of families. It's leaving a lot of people without their kids. My name is Amy Neville, and I lost my 14-year-old son, Alexander Neville, on June 23rd, 2020, to fentanyl poisoning. Alex was a very passionate kid. He loved to learn things. Civil War was his favorite period in history. He learned about it from a very early age, and we would have birthday parties. He would take friends to Civil War reenactments for a birthday party. That was his idea of a good time when he was in elementary school. He was always a Cub Scout. He started off in first grade as a Cub Scout, all the way through as a Boy Scout. He definitely was a skateboarder. He loved to skateboard. He loved to learn as much as he could about whatever subject he was passionate about, and he would carry that passion for a good year or two and educate everybody around him about it. He was a very caring brother to his sister, Enid. Sixth grade came around, and he first was interested in vaping, and so he got in with a new group of friends and had a lot of fun with them. And then the 7th grade came around and this group of kids started smoking weed. Of course it was big conversations about what it was doing to his brain. That was really the angle, the perspective that we took. He got in trouble a few times in 6th grade and lost his school of choice. And we appealed that, but we lost the appeal. And that was really the turning point. Up until 7th grade, Alex had never been in trouble at school. He was always loved by his teachers, even up until he passed. It was like he's always so nice and polite, and like, how can this happen? So it's hard to understand when a kid that you perceive as a good kid is gone from something like this. But it affects everybody. It's not just good kids, bad kids, neglected kids. It's everybody. But on June 21st, late in the evening, he did come to us, and he's like, I gotta talk to you guys, and they sat us down at the kitchen table and proceeded to tell us how he had been taking pills over the course of that week to 10 days, and how the pills had really gotten a hold of him, and he didn't understand why, because again, he's a researcher. The stuff that he looked up on it, the things that he learned about taking opioids shouldn't have taken a hold of him so fast. So this is the night of June 21st, and he told us how he wanted to go back to his old friends, that this wasn't making him happy, that he needed help. And he wanted to go back to the treatment center he had gone to in the spring, and he was ready. And it was like this miracle moment for myself and his father. Like, he's coming to us. He wants to do this rather than when we made him go. He was ready to make some change. I knocked on his door. As soon as I touched his door, I knew something was wrong. Like, there was no energy there. It was like a weird feeling. I knocked on the door, and he didn't respond. Alex had taken one pill that he thought was Oxycontin. One pill. I had no idea at the time that one pill would kill him. I just didn't. We didn't even think it was, when Alex was telling us about the pills, first of all, I was just listening to him, because as soon as we started asking him the questions, he would back away and kind of shut down, and I wanted to hear everything he had to say that night. And we had, I just kind of assumed it was like the old days when we were taught in our drug prevention programs in school that somebody stole this prescription and now they're selling it. That wasn't the case. Alexander ordered an illegally manufactured pill right off of social media. It may have been delivered to our home, may have met up with him, but it was easy as ordering a pizza. It's not starting with prescription pills anymore. It's pills right off the streets, and those pills on the streets are fentanyl. Fentanyl took his life. Alexander. Alex didn't want to die, and he was very clear about that on June 21st. He didn't know it was fentanyl. I didn't know it was fentanyl. I had never even really heard of it until this happened. He had enough fentanyl in his system to kill 3 people from one pill. Some people might look at this and say it's an overdose death, but to me, it's fentanyl poisoning. Alexander was not an addict in the traditional sense. Alexander was in this experimental phase. And this experimental phase is killing a lot of our kids right now. The reality is fentanyl isn't any pill. Any illicit pill that you purchase is fentanyl. It is not Oxycontin, it is not Percocet, it is not a Xanax. It is fentanyl, and that is something that needs to get drilled into everybody. it's just way too easy for them to get these things. And yes, we need to talk to our kids, but it's more than that. It's keeping tabs on them. It's checking out their room. It's, we want to give them, it's hard because we want to give them their privacy, but at the same time, we want to be in their business. So I think it's probably different family by family. Of course, I can look back at the situation and think of 1,000 things we could have done differently for Alex. But right now, I can only help their families from going through this.
This is the danger of fentanyl. It is deadly and it has no place in our community. Just 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal, and just as you've heard in Amy's story, it is extremely accessible. As law enforcement, we are working hard every day to pull fentanyl off our streets, but we need the community's help to prevent this drug from making its way into the hands of our children. That starts with education. Talk to your children early and often about the dangers of opioids and the dangers of experimenting with any kind of drug. In many cases, fentanyl is sold in a counterfeit form, causing accidental overdoses like what happened with young Alex. We don't want to see another family devastated by the effects of opioids. Educate yourself and then talk to other parents about what you have learned. Get in your kids' stuff, and if you see something concerning, address it immediately. Join us in the fight against fentanyl and help us keep our community and our children safe.
When Alex went to his mom and he was concerned about how he was feeling, what was he describing to her? What was happening there? Pardon me?
Abnormal responses to drugs. He shouldn't have been feeling the effects that he was feeling. And that was a telltale sign that he had drunk a little bit more often.
He was feeling the effects of addiction.
Which shouldn't have been as strong as they were.
Fentanyl hits you like a freaking sledgehammer. It is the most addictive drug. Again, 100 times more powerful than morphine, 50 more times powerful than heroin. This crap is addictive. And again, you don't get more than one chance in a lot of cases. Over 80,000 people, as we talked about, have died throughout the United States over the last year. Again, I think it's a lot more. And we're working on trying to account for those. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to Jessica. My wife, we dropped her off. Well, my wife dropped her off the previous day. And we were supposed to pick her up in the morning so she could go get her car. It had to have a new transmission put in on a recall. So when she didn't respond and we subsequently found her dead, I walked into the house briefly. Redlands Police kicked me out, and until 2 weeks later, that was my last vision of my daughter. My last vision of my daughter was on a table at a mortuary. She was cremated, but prior to the cremation, Cherie wanted to see her, and I wanted to see her. And the last vision I have of that beautiful young lady of mine is her laying on that table. That's not how I wanted to remember her, but I had to see her. All I can tell each and every one of you, you guys are going to make decisions. They may be the right decision, sometimes it'll be the wrong decision. I'm 67 years old. I make bad decisions every friggin' day. I do things wrong. I can step in a pile of poop more than most people, but I don't want you guys doing that yourselves. What I would love to see people do is, if you see somebody with pills or somebody doing something, knock it out of their hands, squish it, do whatever the heck you have to do. Talk amongst your friends. It doesn't, I get it, I understand people are going to do it anyway. Well, that person you talk to that you know is doing it, you may save his life or her life. I know Dante didn't want to die. And don't ever forget, he didn't die of an accidental overdose. He and the 80-some thousand other people in this country who died as a result of fentanyl, they were poisoned. They were murdered. I'm going to show one last clip, and somebody sent this to me the other day, and a woman posted this, and you'll see what it's all about once it goes. Don't put your parents through this. Don't put your families through this. Don't put yourself through this. Each and every one of you probably have, if you're 15 years old, you've got 65, 70 years left of your life. Life isn't what it's all about right now. Make the best of it. And don't get stuck in this craziness. That will kill you. Is it moving?
Yeah,
That's fine.
you can see the time.
Okay.
Sit sunshine.
That's the end of it. I was lucky when I got back to the scene at Jessica's house. They had already been removed from the home just before we got there. And I'm glad I didn't witness my daughter being put into that van and taken away. If anybody has any questions, there's nothing off limits to me. You're not going to embarrass me. If you have anything you want to ask me, ask the damn question. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not ashamed. I'm a father. I am Jessica's dad. She is forever 29, and I want you guys to be forever 80 someday. Questions, yes?
My heart goes out to you and Regina, and it's a tragic. My question is this. We have this skateboard park in Crestline, and pretty much ever since it's been there, it's been known as the drugstore.
Sure.
How, as a community, how can we stop? We just did a celebration of life last Wednesday there, and after one of my students at school told me there was someone in the parking lot trying to peddle drugs while we're there.
Yep.
How do we come against that? How do we, as a community, put a stop to it? How do we get the sheriffs there involved? How do we stop it?
The police, particularly up in the mountain here with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department, one thing I haven't talked about is our group, the four of us, we have met with each and every Southern California sheriff's elected sheriff. First, starting with the Sheriff Bianco in Riverside, we then saw Sheriff McMahon. My hat is off to Sheriff McMahon and his agency, because we talked about their reaction to drug overdoses. We talked about the stigma that police officers have relative to somebody dying. Oh, that's just a drug addict, they overdosed, what's the big deal? That's a big deal because they're dead. But in this particular situation, they didn't overdose, they were killed, officer, okay?
It's murder.
Sheriff McMahon digested our stories. Sheriff McMahon then created an overdose response team within San Bernardino County. They now look at these situations for what they are. They're not an accidental overdose, they're poisonings, and they look at it in that way. Hey, I don't know what to tell you. I know me, but I got a gun in my pocket here because I'm a retired cop. And if I saw somebody was dealing dope, or if somebody was doing that, they're going to talk to me. Yes. And they're not going to like what I have to say. I'm not telling you folks to do that by any means. All I would suggest is get whatever information you can, a description, describe this person. If they're in a car, get the darn license plate, a description of the vehicle. If you hear what their name would be, hey, the guy's known as Goofball or something. This is his moniker. Get all the information you can and report it to your local police. Here, the sheriff. They'll do it. Cops love putting people in jail, particularly people that are causing death. But I don't want you to personally get involved in it. Be the witness, okay? Be the eyes and the ears for the police. And they will work on it, I guarantee it. Who else? Yep. Did you have your arm up, sir?
I did, but my sympathies to you.
No.
But
Thank you.
anyway, I don't think the sheriffs are doing enough. That We Tip program, I got a good family friend that just passed like this.
Right.
And They keep reporting stuff, and we know who the provider, who the dealer was, we know where he lives, his father was scouting him out all the time.
Right.
His father's ready to pull the trigger, and we kind of talked him out of it, but,
Yep.
and we tip and them aren't gonna do anything, I don't think the vigilante efforts.
I'm not a real,
Well, how do we end it?
well, I'd be talking to the sheriff personally. Go to them, sit down with them. Hey,
I know,
I want to
we're
talk
not
to
doing
them.
enough.
Well, then you just keep
It's
on.
murder, you explained it, it's not an OD, it's murder.
Well, and they just
So
have
they
to
should
understand that.
treat it as murder, and they should spend more time and money on it.
I agree. And, you know, I guarantee you, and I tell you, the Sheriff McMahon's doing what he can at this particular point. It's a change. But the whole situation with your case there, with a friend or your friend whose family member died, squeaky wheel gets the grease, my
Oh,
friend.
yeah.
Okay?
It's squeaking.
And I keep
They
squeaking.
know the guy.
Okay.
They know, they got a text that the guy,
Well, then, and let me explain something too. You say they're doing nothing. They may be doing a lot, and you're just not aware of it.
I almost think they'd run do some schemes.
No,
Follow the
and they
guy,
might
get the big guy.
But again, the police aren't, the police don't tell me everything that's going on. And I used to be one of them, okay? Hey, give me some professional courtesy here and let me know what's going on.
We need
They
to
won't
figure
give you
it
the
out.
name, but I'm telling you, stay on top of it. Keep talking to the sheriff or the investigating officers. And if they're looking into it, they tell you they're looking into it, they are. But that old cliche, the wheels of justice roll slowly, oh, they do. But don't let the,
So the We Tip program is the way to go.
no,
That's all,
I don't like weed tip. I'm sorry, weed tip. I used to deal with weed tip ourselves and things like that. Weed tip to me is, you're weed tip. Go talk to the detective that's handling this case. Okay, this is what people that I know who are in the know are telling me. This information on that phone that you're looking at, that's the person. And they probably already know that. And again, they're probably working it, and they're not gonna tell you. They just won't. I wanna choke the cops out myself sometimes. Saying, come on.
Pretty bad when the father has to sit in the cul-de-sac and spy on that guy. And there's no sheriff's out there.
But they're not going to. You don't know. I know how investigations are done. Tell your friend, don't sit in the cul-de-sac. Don't. Number one, you're driving yourself crazy. Okay? And who knows, one day you might, go a little bit sideways and do something maybe you wouldn't regret, but you'd do that would have an impact on your life. Let the police do their job. The evidence is there. I guarantee you they're aggressively pursuing it. They won't tell you how, they won't tell you what they're doing, but they are, and eventually something will come of it. Or they'll let you know, we just couldn't get the evidence.
I just want to see more.
Oh,
They're all bad with those.
I do too. I do too.
Well, I know that we're gonna get justice for Dante's dealer, because we know who it is.
Yeah, well,
And
But
there's too
again,
many
like I said-
people that aren't gonna let it lie.
let the police do their job. Those darn investigators, they love to do it. The youngest victim I know was 23 months old. Was around it, got fentanyl in the system and is dead. The oldest person I'm aware of was like 66 years old. And there's probably older ones too, but the whole situation
But
is,
that one falls on the parent.
let the police do something. If you're not happy with the response that you're getting from that particular investigator, that investigator has a boss. Talk to that boss. That boss has a boss too.
Well, we're gonna get a petition going.
Just stay on top of the investigators. Regina knows who it is. I've talked to her a little bit, and I hope they're on things, and I'm sure they are.
Investigators are doing amazing.
Yep.
They truly are, even though they're not telling us like everything, because they need to keep some stuff hush hush. But they do have critical parts in their investigation where they get stuck and they just have to wait, such as Snapchat.
Yeah.
They have to wait for Snapchat to give the okay
Yeah.
and release the information, and Snapchat will do it on their time.
Snapchat is not cooperating, okay?
They're not
And there's
cooperating.
wheels in motion.
It's just like iPhones and stuff, they hide behind the Privacy Act and.
Well, on June 4th, I'll give Cheryl the information. She won't be able to go, darn it, because that's grad night for our place, but I'm going. And I'll get her the information. Anybody wants to join us, we're marching on Snapchat headquarters in Santa Monica. And we're going to have a demonstration in front of their attorney's offices. And we've got signs made up. Well, it'll show us if Dante, it'll say Snapchat is responsible for my murder. And Dante's face is there, and here's our sign.
What date?
Huh?
The date?
The date?
June 4th. I'll get the information to Cheryl.
I'll post it.
The public is welcome. Yeah, the more the merrier.
Absolutely.
And if we can, Evan Spiegel, the owner of Snapchat, the CEO of Snapchat, is a rich little, thank you, I'm going to say.
Aren't they all? But aren't they all just like Facebook and Twitter and all of them?
But I tell you, money talks.
Yep.
And money makes the world go round.
That's why we have
And I'm
this.
fed up with them. We had a conversation today with some people back in Washington, and there's a lot of wheels in motion. And we're trying to get a lot done, but it's going to take some time. The police, the more information you can get them, the better. Kids, let your families know what the friggin' password is for your phone. Keep it away from them if you don't want to get into it. But the whole situation is, once, that phone has a lot of data in it, particularly if you bought your stuff offline. And if they can't get into it, they can't get the information. Jessica was 29 years old. I didn't stalk her, but her friend had the password. So don't want to give it to your family, give it to a close friend who will then give it to the family in the event that something tragic happens. Which it's not going to happen to anybody else in this room here, I guarantee you, right?
If I'm paying for the phone, I'm going to have access to it.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah.
My nephew unfortunately passed away a year ago, and they arrested the drug dealer and charging him with murder because they were able to get into his phone and get information that led to that.
Yeah.
So it's bittersweet, but at least he's not there to do it to someone else.
Well, the old cliche, knowledge is power. And the power of the police comes in with their knowledge to put the pieces of the puzzle together and connect the dots and all that other crazy stuff to give to the prosecutor. And you can talk, this Jason Anderson, whatever his name, is his name? Yeah, Jason, our district attorney here in San Bernardino County. Write him a letter. We've got a fentanyl problem in San Bernardino County. It is our expectation of you to protect us, your citizens. Anybody arrested for this should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Whatever. I'm so frustrated with the prosecutor's office in this county. I won't say anymore. But let me you want to talk in a minute, right?
I just want to add something real quick.
Oh, okay.
So I teach down, these guys know this already, but I teach down in San Bernardino. And it's not just the pills that are getting laced, and this is what the parents need to understand. They're lacing the vapes now.
Oh, yeah. That was the other problem.
So it's not just pills. You guys, I've heard so many parents think, it's no big deal, it's just vaping. But you don't know what's in that. That's the biggest issue.
We have a family that showed us a video. I guess there was a video of their child who died. But his last act was he was inhaling out of a balloon. Well, I'm thinking NOS, okay? He was at a party, he's got a balloon, he's sucking up I'm thinking nitrous oxide, okay. He died. I don't know. But the blood work came back and said he had a lethal level of fentanyl in him. I don't know how that happened, but again, I'm not trying to sit here, I'm not blowing smoke up any of you kids' rear ends. I'm telling you, I don't want any of you to die.
It's serious.
It is. Who else? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, you said call 911. Do they have antidotes? Is there like a Narcan or anything like that?
I know most EMTs, I think the sheriff's department have Narcan, what things it's called, Narcan or something.
And they also have like it's like a pregnancy test, they test your drugs.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, you can buy
I want to warn you about that.
Some
People
people
keep
want to
saying,
test myself.
there's a harm reduction movement out there that says, well, let's just provide the drugs to them and they can test, have them bring to us so we can test them to make sure. There's no test strip that you can test the pill. The only way you can test the pill is to scrunch it up, put it in the liquid form, and then use the goddamn test strip.
Right, watch myself.
Right. Yeah, well, for God's sakes, please do not let anybody convince you, or any of you guys convince any kids or anybody around here that, hey, here's a test strip, wet it, test that pill, and I'll let you know if it's safe. Where's the fentanyl? How much was that fentanyl up there? A grain of salt, right? How big's a pill? You know, what if you test the left side of the pill and yeah, there's nothing there, but it was sitting on the right side? It's stupid. The bottom line is don't take the pill.
Watch out behind
You
you.
shouldn't even
That's
have
the
the pill in
easiest
your
part.
hand. It's just Watson.
It's just
Watson. Watson.
The
He's a
easiest
sweet.
way is don't get a hold of and don't ingest these pills.
Yes,
Don't
they
ingest
will.
any illicit drugs, okay? Things have changed so much. You know, when I was growing up, I grew up in the 60s and 70s. That was a time in the last century, kids, okay? Right. You know, it's my favorite group was the Beatles. They're not a bug, okay? That was a very popular rock group back then.
Oh, they love him now.
But things have changed. Things have changed from, you know, from what, even weed. You know, marijuana back in the day then, it was a bunch of scratch crud. You know, the strains that they're doing now, I mean, they got botanists that are putting together genetically such strong strains of THC that it's nuts. It has changed. The world has changed.
It's evil.
Don't let the evil
Yes.
take a hold of you. Anybody else? Yes.
I just wanted to say, FYI, we have seen this drug dealing taking place at the Hearts, at Peak or even Trail as well, just so people are really conscious at the skate park. That's also a place where people are coming to do and off.
Yeah.
You know that.
Well, when I see suspicious activity, you know, I got these stupid little cell phones. These cell phones are great, aren't they? You know, and they got that video thing. I love just bringing it out. Hey, everybody tape records cops doing things nowadays. I'm going to tape record the rest of the world doing stuff too. You know, that's going to take care of a problem. Stand back. Just point your camera at them. Get their license number. Get it on film.
Yes.
Don't take any steps yourselves to try to do anything. Be the good witness because you don't know who you're dealing with. There's a lot of bad people out there. So, anybody else? Hey, look, this is the first time that I've done this. I'll tune it up. I will continue to do this. It's my new quest in life, I guess, and it's in memory of my beautiful daughter and everybody else that has died because of this stupid scourge. I'm so mad about it. We call it the problem that nobody seems to know is a problem, and it's true. Everybody knows to wear a mask and stay 6 feet away from people, but does anybody know about counterfeit pills? Did you know about counterfeit fentanyl before this incident with Dante? How many knew about counterfeit pills? 1% of the crowd, maybe 5%, maybe. Who knows? People don't know. Spread the word. Spread the word.
Do you go to schools as well? Would you be willing to speak
Oh,
at
dude.
school?
COVID put a lid on everything. You know, our board meetings at the school have been Zoom meetings and all of that type of stuff. But we're getting
Not
back
at our
to normal.
school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I'll go
Yeah.
anywhere. Anybody
Okay.
wants a presentation, give me a call. I'll come up and talk to anybody. Yeah, well, my daughter goes to Emmanuel Baptist. My daughter, I call her my daughter. Yeah, my
is.
my granddaughter. So she's my daughter.
Amen.
She took the place. Yeah, she goes to Emmanuel Baptist, and the schools are still open down there. The private schools generally were unaffected, but yes.
I just want to say that it could be highly possible for this stuff to be in like water bottles.
In what?
Water bottles?
Things like that, just things that even paper, things that you wouldn't expect this kind of stuff to be.
Yeah. Well, we sort of talk of fentanyl. There's talk of it, and even at the congressional level that fentanyl, it's nothing but a weapon of mass destruction, and it can be. 2.2 pounds a kilo. There's over 500,000 doses in 2.2 pounds. 500,000 fatal doses in a kilo of fentanyl.
Whoa.
And they've seized 5,000, 2% of what's coming across the border. You can drive yourself crazy, but all you can do is just be careful. I wouldn't worry about drinking water and that type of stuff. But you're right. The way it can be transported or put out there, it's endless. But
Yeah, there's no limit.
again, I'm not going to let these people ruin my life and let me be paranoid about everything the rest of my life. And I just exercise caution like everybody should, and go from there. Talk to your parents about it if you see something weird. Tell them. Parents love it. What did Amy's son do? What did Alex do? He went and he talked to him. And that one pill got him that night. So, yes?
One of the things that complicates things up here is we are unincorporated county.
Mhm.
That works against the whole system up here.
Right.
Because we don't have the sheriff manpower, we don't have the CHP manpower.
Right.
They're from here to Silverwood and Big Bear, and there's maybe 3 guys.
Right.
It's not enough.
Oh, I know. I started with the sheriff's department, and my first station was out in Barstow. And we had, I think we had 9,000 square miles of patrol area out there, so it was crazy. What is your name? You look dark familiar to Okay. No, I'm.
He's the only surveyor up here.
The guy I used to work with was in IB yeah, good looking, beard and all that. But anyway, my sincerest thanks for letting me come up here and talk to you guys. Again, I'll polish it up a little bit. I hope it's been informative. If there's anything else I can do, get a hold of Cheryl. And
Can you email me the video that you used? Is that something you can do?
no.
Okay.
We'll see about putting it on the
It's gonna
church
be on
website.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
okay.
It's going to be on our church YouTube to begin with.
I just like his original is a cleaner version. I don't know how well that'll be.
Oh, you're talking
You know
about
what
the
I mean?
PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see. I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
I'll have to ask. Oh, super.
Email address on there.
Great.
It's on the map.
Okay. Thank you very much. Please.